Everybody in the shooting world uses some kind of a bag, whether it's a rear bag, a pillow bag, a rest, it doesn't matter. Something needs to fill it up. And if you're looking to lighten up your load and make it easier to travel, carry, and move around those bags, I've got the solution for you. If you're in the shooting sports, then you probably have some kind of a bag, whether it's a rear bag like an F class, whether it's some kind of a squeeze bag or a positional bag for PRS or hunting. And in the past, those have almost always been filled with some kind of a sand, whether it's playground sand, a zircon, heavy sand, whatever it is. And that's because we're always looking for the most stable platform that we can shoot off of. But that's not always practical. There's people with mobility issues, there's people with arthritis, shoulder pain, back pain, whatever it is, and carrying around a 15 or 20 pound bag is not always practical. As an example, my old F-class bag used to weigh 23 pounds when it was full of heavy sand. And while that made for a heck of a rear bag platform, I just couldn't do it anymore. It hurt me to carry around the range. It wasn't practical for flying. And so years ago, probably 6 or 7 years ago, I tried to find some alternatives. And originally I looked at food alternatives because at the time that was, kind of something people turned to. And whether it was rice, split pea, soup, nuggets, lentils, stuff like that, where it's a little bit lighter than sand, but, still has that structure and still fits within the NRA guidelines for a fill and all that kind of stuff. But keep in mind, food is not the best bag fill because it can absorb moisture, it can break down, as it's rubbing against each other, it's going to start kind of turning into its own sand, food sand. So there's a lot of reasons why filling a bag with some kind of a food product isn't the best answer. And so I came across a company called Spexlite, and I've been using them ever since. And I get a lot of questions, and I'd say anytime I talk about shooting at a match or talking about my bags, I always get asked, what do you fill them with? And I've never done a proper video on it. So I wanted to show what I have, what Spexlite can do, and why I like them so much. So the first thing is, Spexlite offers a huge range. I mean, everything from actual heavy sand to all kinds of plastic and almost like styrofoam fills. There's a wide assortment that you can choose from. And to give you an idea, we have everything from this kind of white styrofoamy thing here. We have some smaller little tiny BBs that are a little more dense, and then we have some larger beads, but they are a lighter density. And then we also have kind of a larger bead that is a heavier density, and that's going to be closer, like these are actually pretty close to like a soup, like a lentil or a split pea. And so there's lots of different options, and this is just 4 of them. And then I also have the heavy sand here, which I'll show you in a second. But tons of solutions, and they make it really easy on their website. This is their website, and you can see they kind of show some different fills on the cover here. But if we go to shop, something that really sets them apart from a lot of other, and there's really, like, you kind of have to go to like a Brownells or a Midway or something to find any of the heavy sands. But here, you can actually scroll down on their shopping page and put in your dimensions. So in my case, mine is 9 inches by 7 inches by 2 inches, more or less. Like, you're gonna put in the best you can. And then what you can do is it will now tell you how much that bag will weigh with different fillings. So if I go with their heavy sand, you can see it's gonna be roughly 9 pounds, and then here's their model number. So here's heavy sand, and then 5235, 5125, stuff like that. And so you could see how, and I believe it's the white one that I just showed you. If I use that one, this bag would only weigh 0.08 pounds, right? So it'd be super, super light. And that's just the fill weight. That's not including the weight of the bag, obviously. But I mean, it's not even 1/10 of a pound of fill. This one here, it gives you a different example here. So you got the liters of fill and then cubic feet of fill, and then these are going to be the weights down here. So I really like that, and I'm not going to get into the weeds on all the different options that they have, but you can buy it in huge amounts. They've got a lot of different options, but here's all of their different fills that you can look at and kind of make some decisions on, and you can buy it in bulk. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff. And there's a lot of big name companies that use their fill. In fact, I think this bag that I have from a well-known company actually comes with a form of Spexlite in it. And this is, I've had this one for probably the better part of 8 or 9 years. And it's a nice lightweight. I don't really use it much anymore, but it is a really nice little squeeze bag and I just can't bring myself to get rid of it. So let me just show you in real time what we're looking at with the difference between their lightest fill and their heaviest fill. So if we get set up here, you can see I've got my scale and I have my readout, and this is that white kind of styrofoam fill. And if I put it on there, it is 3.4 ounces. Okay, and this is about a 1 gallon fill. It's a little bit under, but it's about a 1 gallon fill. And then here we have not even, it's probably 2/3 of a bag of heavy sand. So this is, let me see here. So I guess fill wise, I guess they're close. There is less quantity, like physical quantity in the bag of the heavy sand, but we went from 0.3 ounces to 13 pounds for the heavy sand. So you can see it's a huge difference in terms of light to heavy and what that can do for your bags. And personally, I tend to mix mine. So I still use a little bit of heavy sand. So this is my current F-class bag, and I'll just show you here. So this is my current F-class bag, and it is a mix of heavy sand and then some of their lighter fill, which is sort of like this one here. And what I have found is that gives me a really good density because I still get some weight to it, but then the rest of it, probably I don't know, I'd say a quarter of it is heavy sand and the rest is going to be the fill. And it gives me a bag that weighs roughly 3 pounds, which is about what I want, 3 or 4 pounds. And I get a stable platform, but I don't have all the weight. And keep in mind, this bag, if filled with heavy sand, would be almost 10 pounds. So it is a pretty big difference there, and that's one of the things I really like. Something else I've noticed about the, I don't exactly know what all the materials are, but we'll just call them polyfills or plastic fills. The big difference for me is, and I've probably filled a good 8 to 10 different bags over the years with this stuff. It stretches differently. So at least in a tight F-class bag where you are trying to really pack it in there and get a tight, a tight fill so that you're stable, when I've used heavy sand, I have found that it wants to stretch in a lot of different directions because it is so dense, it is so tight that when you pack it in there, it really pushes on the leather and you get a stretch, and then you got to pack it some more, and then ultimately you kind of reach a point where it can't really fill up anymore. But nevertheless, it tends to stretch, especially on a bigger bag where it's maybe 15 or 20 pounds. You get a lot of stretch on that leather. I don't find that to happen when I'm using the different fills because they don't have that same kind of outward pressure that the heavy sand is going to have. And make no mistake, this is not going to be for everybody. There are plenty of applications where heavy sand, when you can use it, is honestly going to be one of the best options. It is one of the reasons I do like their heavy sand though, because it is one of the densest heavy sands I've ever used. So if you want to get a fill, you don't have to go 2 different places. You can get some heavy sand and you can get their regular fill, which is how I order it. But maybe you shoot bench rest, you don't have a mobility problem, you want a nice 20-pound rear bag, fill it full of heavy sand. Maybe you shoot PRS or something where you need, some lighter weight bags. You can do some different fill mixtures if you want. I know a lot of the different companies have a opening like Velcro or something similar where you can change out the fill if you want to. And this is really a great option for really making it the way you want. I had an Armageddon bag not long ago when I was doing NRL 22. It came with heavy sand in it. It was really tough for me to move around. It was hurting my rotator cuffs as I was trying to get in different positions. I emptied most of that out. I backfilled it with some of the lighter stuff. I lost about 3 pounds, 4 pounds on the bag, and moving it around became much easier for me, and I didn't lose any of that stability. So, that was just sort of my take on it. So that's it. That's Spexlite. I've gotten a lot of questions about it. I've really never been able to do a good, proper presentation on it, but I thought this would be the time to do it. And if you're looking to get some, you can head over to their website, put in code FClass. Here's the code right here. And that will get you 10% off your entire purchase, including the cost of shipping, which a lot of places don't discount shipping, so that's kind of cool. But that's all I have for now. Get out and shoot. We'll talk soon. Have a good one.